more resources, visit rym.org.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
Hey everyone, this is Michael Hall, Director of Training at RYM. Before we get to today's podcast, I want to invite you to join us at our annual Youth Leader Training Conference. YLT is an incredible week of equipping, connection, and encouragement for you and your ministry. We're excited to offer 2 locations in 2019, Nashville, Tennessee, and Paradise, Pennsylvania. Feature speakers include Sandy Wilson, Walt Mueller, Julie Lowe, Duffy Robbins, and Scotty Smith. Registration for both locations is now open. Please visit rym.org/training for more information and registration.
Hey everybody, welcome back. All this week we are talking to Wilson Van Hooser. Is it Youth Director? Is that your title? I always get these wrong.
Youth Director, yes.
And I should know that. Youth Director at Pear Orchard Pres. And yesterday we talked to Wilson about really his story, his testimony, and his involvement with sports and his, being able to make it to the NFL. And so if you missed that yesterday, be sure to go back and check that out, because all this week we are talking about sports. And as I started off yesterday, I'm a young father whose children are just now starting to get involved in sports. Wilson doesn't technically have children. He has 2 dogs, which can be a lot like children. Yeah. So we know if there are parents out there listening, we don't pretend to have all the answers, but with Wilson's background and then our interaction with students, we hope we can give some good thoughts as we talk about sports. And as we bring up sports, I said yesterday, it's a controversial topic, and we as Christians need to be cautious of just condemning certain aspects of creation. And so one of those things is we're talking about sports, we want to obviously praise the creational good of sports. So with that being said, Wilson, what are some of the greatest blessings that you experienced in your years of playing sports from, basketball? I know you played soccer as well, and football. What are some of those as you think back over your many years? What were some of those greatest blessings?
Yeah, man, I'm so glad you just said that I played soccer. I'm a Man City fan, and I like soccer right now more than football. Man, I'm so glad you said that. I wasn't very good, but it's fun. Man, some of the good things. There are so many. I think there are some though that absolutely stand out. Some are given, and I think maybe some of these would be more fresh to people. But for sure, teammates. Mm-hmm. Yesterday I was able to tell about my teammates that I had at Tulane and Troy and the Patriots and the Brawlers. God always gave me a great group of teammates. Just incredible guys who I still talk with today, and that is a creational blessing. I mean, it is brotherhood. Just to be able to go through, even at Tulane the most games that I won at Tulane was 4 games. And even, it's not like we were Alabama and we were like going to the national championship every year and it was like, oh, it's easy to be teammates. It was like, it was tough and we worked our tails off, but it was like those going through all of that brought us together. And there's just few things like having solid teammates and having that brotherhood. And I think that's definitely something that sports should remind us of that creational blessing, that desire for community that we often have.
Absolutely. Yeah, just as, again, I haven't played on the same level as you, but if I had to look at my many years of sports, I don't even have to think about it. It's the team. Yeah. Being a part of a team is so significant. And like you just said, for the Christian, we know we were created for community because we're created in the image of a triune God. And so, without a doubt, that would be the top for sure.
Man, yeah, absolutely. I think another thing too is I think not we have brotherhood, but I think there's also a fatherhood aspect to sports, and that obviously comes in with the coaches. My high school football coach, Randy Ragsdale, is certainly a father figure, and that man right there is legendary. I mean, there's not a single player that could have come through Trinity Presbyterian High School in Montgomery, Alabama, and played under Randy Ragsdale and thought, this man does not love me. There's no way they could have thought. I mean, he loved the game of football. He was a great high school football coach, and I can't remember if he's in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. I mean, he was an incredible coach, but his number one passion was to love the players and to tell them about Christ. I mean, that was like hands down. It's like, it wasn't just like, yeah, he was a good football coach and he kind of did this too. No. It was over and beyond. This man was going to be a father and he was going to lead us to Christ. And that was, that was incredible. I had my receivers coach my first couple years at Tulane, T.D. Woods. He was awesome. Bob Toledo at Tulane as well. He was our head coach. He was a great man as well. He recruited me, and he would go to bat for his players. I'm so thankful for him. And then Keith Williams, Coach Dub. He was my wideouts coach when the new coaching staff came in. And even though it was a tough year with the head coach, Coach Dub just raised the bar athletically, academically, and just as a character. His whole thing was, being a wideout is a way of life. And he was contagious, and he was like, even the people who weren't receivers were jealous of being a receiver. I mean, it was like this. I mean, he was a father figure, and he was a joy to be around, and he raised the bar. He helped us become better men and better players and better students.
And so as I asked that question, I mean, the first thing, we'd say relational, relational blessings through sports. I mean, the teammates and then the coaches. So those are some awesome blessings for sure. What about some other things?
Yeah, I think, learning how to work was a big one. Learning how to push through, especially when just to be honest, like, look, there are times when you're running wind sprints and people are just like, they're throwing up. And it's like, I've got to be able to push through this in order to love my teammates well. And that was just something where few other aspects of my life were like that. And I think it prepared me, I think, a lot for ministry, to love others well and to push through pain, to be able to, to persevere and to learn how to fail and to keep going and trying your hardest. Learning how to serve, I think, was another big thing in sports. And then I think this is one that, I don't know, maybe it's just my eyes. I feel like it's overlooked, but, there was nothing like the feeling of just running as fast as I could and catching a football. I mean, it just that, and it's just so vivid to me. I ran a ton of go routes. My last year at Tulane, I was the designated go route guy. But there was nothing like that feeling of like stretching your body to the limit and feeling the wind, rush into your face, and trying to like run on your toes so that your eyes don't bounce up and down as you're trying to follow the football, and to be able to like track it with your eyes into your hands, and as a guy, it's like draped on top of you. There's just that physical kind of exertion.
Wilson,
incredible.
Sorry, I jumped in on you.
Yeah.
But as you're saying that, I'm just thinking of Chariots of Fire.
Yes, come on now.
Eric Liddell just said, when I run, I feel his pleasure. There's just something about, again, God bestows different gifts on people. And when you're exercising the gifts he's given you, just that, the pleasure of the Lord there. And anyway, so that just comes to mind as
you're absolutely right.
You're mentioning that. And did you say that learning how to fail? Did you?
Yeah.
Would you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think one of the things I see a lot of, especially in like elementary, middle school, and high school, it kind of dwindles down the more and more people stay in sports. But especially when they're younger, I feel like I see a lot of athletes, whenever they fail, they start to kind of go about like, either they're like, I'm not really going to try that hard anymore, because I don't want to fail. I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to, I'm nervous about giving my all in order to be basically like rejected. And I think sports really taught me how to fail well. How to not just kind of like play it cool and like, well, if I mess up, then, oh, well, I wasn't really trying that hard. And basically just saying like, if only I was 6'4" and 225 pounds and can run a 4.2 40 and I had hands like Jerry Rice, then no, not playing that, but, try like working as hard as I can. And even though I fail, to do it again and to learn from mistakes, and just the ability that we have as humans to learn from mistakes. I mean, I think about in the film room all the time. Even if you have 100 yards receiving, you go back in the film room and man, you messed up so many times. But we have the ability to notice that and to think about that and be like, oh, I can learn from that and get better at that. And I think that's really overlooked.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's important perspective because, without a doubt, I mean, anyone who's played any sports, they've lost a game for the most part. And so they're going to experience failure. They're going to experience heartache. And I mean, applying that to life, we've got to be preparing our students to suffer. And even though, we might say, suffering and the loss of a game is somewhat superficial in the grand scheme of things, it still is lessons to learn for life. For sure.
I think we got to see that as something that God is teaching us whenever we fail at other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we'll get into this in a couple of days, but I think it is a grave mistake whenever we try to distance sports from our theology. And just the grave dangers where we say, well, God doesn't really care about the score. He doesn't really care. He just cares about these other. Well, that's losing our theology of God as the creator, as the sovereign creator who is ordering all things and all of life so that we might enjoy him and glorify him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, Wilson. We're about to be wrapping this up, but can you list off a few others before we close this down?
Man, definitely the various cultures in the locker room, especially in New Orleans. It was unbelievable. Cultures in the locker room is it just brings in so many different types of people. And there's a lot of sports teams I was on. We did a lot of service and community outreach. That was definitely something that it gets publicized a little bit, but not to its full extent. And some people do it in even like more or lesser known ways. And that's definitely a creational blessing. And then I think also good, solid team chaplains. Jack Easterby at the New England Patriots, Corey Olivier at Tulane, and even Randy Ragsdale, just my high school football coach. I mean, those were blessings in sports to be able to have these guys who would apply the gospel even in sports.
Yeah. Well, Wilson, thanks a lot. That was really helpful. That's some good perspective. And like we said, as Christians, to think properly on really anything. I mean, we've got to be looking at the creational good and, again, just so much that we've pointed to that we can see is rooted in just being image bearers of God. So tomorrow, as we get into some of the effects of the fall, it's good to keep this proper perspective. So be sure to tune in tomorrow as we do talk about some of the negatives and cautions of youth sports. So thanks again, Wilson.
Yeah, thanks, John.